Hello everyone. My name is Maria. I'm a first year student at Concordia University, and I'm the project leader of this project. So, um, as part of the Juvenis Festival, I made an anthology. I put together some poems and some short stories, and I decided to make it on the topic of time because um, the pandemic kind of shifted our perception of time. I remember speaking with friends, and we would realize how quickly time was passing by, but it also felt like it took forever and the days all blended into each other. So I thought it would be interesting to explore this topic um, by creating this anthology. Um, so I wanted to read a few pieces, or at least parts of some pieces. Um, so if I know, Shaylin, you said you were interested in reading your your piece. So if you wanted to go before me or after, it's up to you.
I'll go after if that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. So in the Time Anthology, there are um, 9 contributions by 8 contributors, and one of them is this is a short story by Astrid Celeste, and it is called Permutations of the Universe. And I thought it was really interesting because it's about time traveling. So here goes. Everyone knows the rules. No time traveling. I can't believe everyone actually follows them though. I mean, I've never heard of anyone time traveling, but it must happen. Some people have terrible instant control, and some people are risk takers, and some people don't care much for the rules, even if the rules make sense. I have good instinct control, and I'm not a risk taker, and I tend to follow the rules. Still, it's extremely tempting, and if I'm tempted, someone's definitely done it. But then, how do they manage to not destroy the universe? Maybe I just think about this too much. I do overthink things. But come on, it would be so easy to time travel and so interesting. And I think I keep on analyzing all of the angles of it because I'm hoping I'll be able to justify trying it. So those are the first 2 paragraphs of this short story. And it's quite interesting because um, there's a fun little turn of events at the end. And it also talks about childhood. So I think that's interesting. The other one that I would really wanted to read is Rooftop by Olivia, a good friend of mine who's also a writer, and she actually did her own project for the Juvenile Festival. She did um, a series of workshops for poetry and visual arts, and she even has her own. She set up a gallery, a virtual gallery, and it's on the Juvenus website. So if you're interested to check it out, you're very welcome to. Um, and there's also there's visual artwork, and there's also poetry in that gallery. And her poem Rooftop goes like this. So it's 3 a.m. a tired sky. We climb to the roof to spy ghosts made of chimney smoke and rain. We roam the suburbia of Asphodel called home. Please, could you remind me what it means to be alive? Heart beating, head screaming, wrist bleeding, hands shaking, time. Taking, taking, taking. We find ourselves somewhere between a lie and a dream, and a twisted false memory where Dolly's clocks fool in the clogged kitchen sink. I'm alone, and you're here with me. We climb to the roof. We breathe in slow motion. Enemy energy. Succumbs to the ghost town I built out of the promises I killed. But your hair is a halo, a glow in the yellow window. Light. You smile so wide, like an angel in pain. Don't make me leave your ashes in the rain. So I think this poem is really nice to read, and also the way it was formatted. It's a very creative work, and I definitely recommend you check out the anthology to see the other fun poems that there are in there. So Shaylin, if you wanted to read your piece.
Sure. So the story itself is called Chronology of a Polymath, and it's split into sections that detail the amount of time that the main character spent at different occupations. And so I just wanted to read the one section from around the middle of the story, and I hope you like it. Athelstein Park Fire Tower, 3 months, 2 weeks, 4 days, and 3 hours. Felix carried my toolbox that afternoon as we walked through the woods towards the miller's farm so that I could take a look at their hot air balloons. The fire tower was sort of like that, Felix said, pointing to a ramshackle wooden tree stand, only much taller and freestanding, and wider. I lived there most of the summer and watched for fires. I went down to the forest floor sometimes to take a walk, but other than that and our little ham radio, I had no real contact with the outside world all that time. Didn't you get lonely? I asked. We had just reached the miller's place, and I could see the hot air balloon lying deflated in their field, its vertical rainbow stripes making it look like something out of a storybook. I didn't notice the loneliness at first, Felix continued. I thought maybe that could be where I would find God, in nature. When I spotted a fire one morning and had to evacuate, I went back to the city and burst into tears when this old woman sat next to me on the bus and brushed against my arm. I had almost forgotten what human touch was like. I knew then that the isolation wasn't for me, and I never went back. That's it.
So I really liked your piece, and I remember when you sent it to me, I read the first paragraph and I immediately knew I loved the piece. So like right from the get-go, I knew it would be included in here. And I was curious to ask you how you got the inspiration for this piece.
It sort of came from a character I like in a different thing. And just the idea. So I actually wrote it for a class, and the point of the assignment was to write a story with subtitles. And I wanted to do something sort of creative with it. And so I did places and times. So every subtitle is the place where this person worked and how long he was there. And I liked the idea of someone jumping from occupation to occupation, and someone who was sort of a jack of all trades and really was pretty good at everything, but was bored by a lot of things and just couldn't find a place where he was fitting in. And also, it was a little bit inspired by my dad too, because he's done a lot of really interesting jobs, some of which are in the story.
Yeah, that's really cool. And what really struck me was how throughout those different time periods and different segment of the two characters' lives, um, how it's really about the relationship between them, the two, and obviously through the different occupations they change and they grow, but they still have this relationship that they keep going. So yeah, I thought it was a really interesting and creative exploration. So thank you for submitting it.
Thank you so much.
If you have any questions for anybody watching, please feel free to ask them.
I was actually just wondering, because I remember when we first started talking about the idea of like time being the theme and how many different ways you could approach it. So I was wondering if you received a piece that like was your like something that most surprised you as an angle. What would you say was the most interesting interpretation of the theme?
I actually had one that was it was really interesting because they decided to portray time as like a friend. So that was really really interesting. And it was a very interesting poem. But like unfortunately I wasn't able to include it because it didn't really like respect different parts of the theme. So that was unfortunate, but that was definitely really surprising. But I was very happy to receive pieces like Permutations of the Universe, which was like the part of the first story that I read today. but there were also some that were very, um, I'm not really sure how to describe it actually. It kind of, although it talks about time and the change of time, there's one piece that feels quite stagnant, but it's very touching and it's about childhood, and it made me um, compare it to kind of like a picture because it's the cottage actually. That's the short story in the anthology, and so I just thought it was very interesting. It feels like a picture that you're looking at because it feels like the author was looking back at a memory. So that capture of a memory was very interesting to me, and I thought it really related to the theme of my anthology.
That's really cool. Thanks.
Are there any other questions?
I was just gonna say, I know that you're including some images as well, kind of, or a bit of illustration in the final book. So I guess I'm just wondering kind of what that process is like in terms of deciding how it was going to be kind of formatted, or how you were going to enhance the words that were submitted to you.
Um, well, including images was very um, it it went through a lot of phases, um, and I had discussions with a few artists, um, and some some had very intricate styles, which even though it would have been very interesting to include their work, um, it wasn't quite as printable. There were too many details, or it would take up too much space, unfortunately, which made me really sad because they were so talented. Um, but so I had to um, decide on using more simple art. Um, so that was um, quite a journey, actually. It was more challenging than with the written pieces. Um, but yeah, I think the artwork is more like simple, but it's more decorative in style rather than like full of meaning. I still think it does add something to it though, the overall feel of the piece.
I guess I just want to add something else, I guess. But you're talking a lot about how there's certain things that were really great, but they just didn't necessarily fit. So kind of what made you, or like, how did you approach it to be able to say, like, this is really good, but I don't think it fits? Like, what was that kind of line, that through line that you were looking for?
Um, well, some of them, I received a couple that I found um, were I didn't find them quite appropriate, or they talked about subject matter that I thought were too serious, and that wasn't really what I wanted for this anthology. I wanted something more, um, not necessarily lighthearted, but more um, kind of something that I could show everybody. Um, so I really, um, that's what I favored when I was choosing the pieces. Some, um, or some were just too long, unfortunately, because this anthology is more in the design format. Um, some were like over 10 pages long, and I thought that that was actually a mistake on my part. I should have specified like a word count or a maximum length. Um, and I think I actually learned so much of the process of making this anthology. So, and I actually recommend doing this to everybody. I thought it was super fun, super interesting. I learned so much about um, just communicating with other people and arranging different things. But it's just so fun to read different pieces and different artwork made by different people. And I remember actually, like in school, you don't really get to read other people's things. Like if there's an assignment written by a teacher, you, not written by a teacher, but assigned by a teacher, you would just you would just write your own assignment and submit it to the teacher. Meanwhile, and not read anybody's, but meanwhile the teacher would read all of the assignments. And sometimes I felt like a teacher who was reading everybody's assignments. But I just thought it was so fun, and seeing how different people interpreted it, just the one theme of time. It was so interesting. So I'm glad I got to do this.
See, we have someone else joining, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm welcome. We're recording the session, just so you know, but Maria's currently taking questions, and Shaylin is a contributor as well. So I'm sure she's happy to take questions as well. Is that correct? Yeah, awesome.
I had a question for Maria. When you were choosing the illustrations, did you want it to be sort of like illustrations particular to each story, or is it more like thematic illustrations about time?
I chose both. I think both really worked because kind of, so choosing illustrations on the topic of time, I found help with coherence throughout the entire anthology, but also some illustrations really help to highlight kind of a part of the story or like an element or something that I liked in the story. So that was, I kind of took everything. I didn't focus on just like thematic illustrations and like piece specific illustrations. Yeah.
Sorry if this is like a stressful question, but do you have an idea about like when it's going to be published, like when I can get my hands on it?
So I think it should be, I need to confirm with Maya actually, but it should be about the beginning of next week or the weekend around that time. And I'll also send out free copies to the contributors next week as well. So yeah, it should be by then.
Yeah, nice, thanks.
Besides the copy sent to the contributors, where can people find it?
So it will be on the Juvenis website. I believe there's a shop section of the website, and that's where it will be posted. And then people who are interested in supporting Juvenis and to support the contributors who participated and also who are just interested in seeing the final product can get their hands on the copy on the Juvenis website.
Yeah, it'll be on the store, but it'll also be linked on the project page specific to this. So there is a project page. If I don't already, I'll add the list of all the names of the contributors, although they might be there. And then Maria's bio is there as well, if you want to know more about Maria. And then this video will be on that page as well. So it'll just be a Time Anthology page that you'll be able to find everything on.
Mm-hmm. And just out of curiosity, Shaylin, how did you find out about this opportunity?
It was actually through Carolyn Smart. I don't know if anyone else here knows her. She's a creative writing teacher at Queen's.
Okay.
And students like opportunities like this.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I did email some people who work at Queen's and in the creative writing department. So I guess that was a fruitful endeavor. So I actually don't have much prepared other than this. It was great to have you guys. A bit of a smaller group than I had expected, but I still think it was fun. So yeah, the copies will be available on the Junis website in a few days then, and I'll send out the copies during next week. And yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah, and if you don't already know, Maria runs an Instagram account for this project. So it's called Time Anthology JV. And I'm sure she'll be posting about when everything goes on sale, or she's easy to reach that way too, if you think of any more
Yeah,
questions.
definitely.
So that account will be open for a little bit still. So just in case, maybe you're watching this on the website and you weren't able to join us here today, but you have a burning question. So there you go. Great.
Yep.
All right. Thanks. Thank you, everybody. Sorry, I talked a lot. But
No, that's okay.
thank you so much to Maria. She's been a wonderful addition to the festival, and she's worked very hard on creating this. This is a project like we've never seen before in the festival. So thank you, Shaylin, for being a part of it as well. And to everybody who's watching, thank you for making this a reality and for supporting these young artists and the really great things that they're doing, because I know that they'll be doing a lot more great things in the future. Right.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.